Hi, here you have the Functional Behavior Assessment Case Study by Angela Giles for Special Education Class 503 at Colorado Christian University. Sources of information that were used to collect student behavior data were compiled from direct observation. That was done both with the ABC, or the antecedent behavior consequence form, and the peer comparison tally forms. The interview was done with the actual teacher, and both parents were also interviewed. Student target behaviors for this FBA was generally disruptive behavior classified as attention seeking, or impulsivity, both verbal and physical. The student displays inappropriate timing and volume of laughter and comments, noises, talking out of turn, hitting. The other behavior is argumentative and or avoidance strategies. This student avoids or argues with peers. She avoids or argues with authority, and she avoids tasks or activities. So the FBA of the first behavior we have is the attention seeking or impulsivity. A specific example is the student will blurt out. She comments, which are often inappropriate in timing, volume, and also content. For example, there's random laughter and noises, and often hitting or dancing as reactions. The typical setting events were lack of attention. If she wasn't getting attention, she may make a noise or a comment. If she's bored, she may make a noise or a comment. And then also the setting events specifically for the hitting was a reaction to direct stimulus. This also occurred with the dancing. Obviously hitting was a negative. Something happened to her that she didn't like. So she hit a student, and then dancing was a reaction to something that she found rewarding. The frequency of these behaviors were about 6 times during a 1-hour class. The intensity of these behaviors were a constant source of disruption in the instructional environment. Obviously, if you have a student blurting out, making comments, laughing, moving around, hitting, that's obviously going to directly impact the instructional environment. The duration of these occurrences varied. It could be something that was just a few seconds to a few minutes. Previous interventions that have been used were verbal and non-verbal cues for direction. The educational impact on this student is it's an interruption of learning, both for her and for the other students. The functional behavior assessment of behavior 2 is the argumentative or avoidance behaviors. Specifically, the student will attempt to negotiate her way out of doing activities or directly avoid her peers and or tasks. The setting events are that she's generally not getting her way, or she doesn't prefer the person or the activity that she is assigned to be engaged in. The frequency of these behaviors are that they're happening on an average of 16 times during a 1-hour class. The intensity is that these behaviors occupy a significant portion of class or work time. The duration, again, this varies with occurrence. Some of these behaviors are ranging from 1 to 5 or more minutes per occurrence. Some of the interventions that have been used specifically for this is providing choices and also the support of visual organizers or time management tools. The educational impact that this has on the student is that class time is not used to complete work, Therefore, it's generating a lot of stress. She has additional work she has to do at home, and it just seems to compile on her. Interventions that have been put in place, specifically at home, the parents try to set a structure for chores and an allowance system. There are things that she needs to do, and then there are rewards, so to speak, or allowance provided. They've also tried privilege incentives and removal. Okay, if you do this, you get to do this. If you don't do this, you don't get to do this. They have started rewarding her for good grades. And then it seems like there's also quite a bit of punishment. She oftentimes, if she doesn't do her work when she's supposed to, she'll be sent to her bedroom for the rest of the evening, or she doesn't get to participate in certain desirable activities that she has. At school, there is a regimented and quite successful PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Intervention Support System, that all students are subject to, obviously, in 3 tiers. This student in particular has been part of all 3 tiers. The teachers generally follow a 5-to-1 rule, where in the classroom, they will attempt or try to make 5 positive statements for every 1 negative statement. So that 5-to-1 has been in place since this child has been in the district. Redirection has been used at school quite a bit with her, just to try and get her on task or get her away from doing something. Again, organizers and time management support. Organizers, both visual, and sometimes just telling her, okay, do 1, 2, 3, and then trying to help her move through her tasks in an orderly fashion. There's also been, the counselor's also been quite available for this child. If the teachers notice that she is off of a mood or having more interruptions than usual, they will initiate the counselor contact, and she has been very effective at advocating for herself when she needs to go speak with a counselor. They've also tried peer support groups where there's several students with varying things that they would like to bring to the table to talk about or to help each other. In the interview with the parent's expectations, consideration, and concerns, the parent's expectations were pretty clear that the child would behave and perform up to her potential. And I did a little digging with what they meant by her potential, and it was the things that they thought she was capable of based on test scores and behaviors that they've seen her exhibit. The considerations, or the things that the parents shared, was that this child had a hard time accepting the fact that she was adopted, that this student had been under medical care and supervision for an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and that this child has also been provided with various forms of counseling and therapy, in addition to behavior things that I mentioned previously at home. Their main concerns at the time were actually quite alarming. They said that they were at the point where they feel like this child will ultimately get the things that she want or doesn't want by now making threats to hurt herself. And the parents cannot determine if this child is just being manipulative or if she's truly considering hurting herself at this time. So there's quite a bit of alarm there. And a piece of scripture that I found that I felt was really applicable for this situation in this family was in Mark 3:34 through 35. And looking about at those who sat around him, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whosoever does the will of God, he is my brother and my sister and my mother.